Sharon Steele, community activist, person who's everywhere. Come on in. Stick your right foot over here on the tape. Welcome to the studio. What do you think?
Thank you. I think it's pretty nice digs.
And we reach a ton of people, have great conversations, and
Good.
you yourself are everywhere.
Well, we try.
Well, just saw you at the Commerce Corporation meeting when they announced new tourism vendors. But being in the jewelry district, I mean, that's really your bread and butter, and
It is.
very involved with the 195 Commission,
Correct.
following what it is that they've been up to. I mean, let's take a deep breath. We're here in March 2007. This is where we'd be at this point. Do you think it's moving at a pace that folks are satisfied with?
I am pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
Because when you undertake something as significant as this in terms of development, we have come a very long way. So when you think about this, this is basically the 5th year. And I cannot say enough about Stephen Pryor as the Commerce Secretary, Governor Raimondo and what she has done, and the I-195 Commission, because this is a group of just amazing professionals. And the kinds of people we finally have here, this is the game changer for Rhode Island.
Now, we've talked before, again, with the infamous 3-tower proposal, then the 1-tower proposal, but there's been some discussion about the transparency from the 195 Commission's standpoint. Brought it into question when the Wexford announcement was made, and we asked what Brown and CIC would be paying in rents, got a less than forthcoming answer. What do you have to say to the recent news about the issue of transparency? And do you think the public is fully informed of things that are going on at the Commission level?
I think that when you operate within the structure of the commission, it's a fairly rigid structure. And so, as with other commissions, there are things that are within the public purview, and then there are things that obviously are reserved for executive session. Clearly, in real estate deals, none of that kind of very specific information that you were looking to get that evening. Those are the kinds of things that, frankly, cannot be disclosed. And obviously, when you are negotiating, you clearly have to do that very quietly and very much behind the scenes. So I think that part of the discussion that happened over the recent week about is there secrecy? Are people really being told what's happening? I think that perhaps that was somewhat overblown. Frankly, it sort of seemed as though...
Can bring you a little closer over here on the mark.
Sort of seemed as though the I-195 Commission was less than forthcoming. And you know, I am there at every...
You're there, she's there, everyone, she's there.
Every single meeting.
Every single meeting.
So there are certain things that you know, and if you go and you regularly attend, there is a certain rhythm, and there is a certain development process. And so I am not feeling out of the loop. I think that people who take that sort of very serious interest, which clearly we do because of the Jewelry District Association, we feel very privileged that we are allowed to be there. And before and after the meetings, we are allowed to engage with the commissioners. And we understand that there are limits. There are things that they can talk about, and there are things that they don't talk about. But frankly, when you do proposals like the FAME proposal, at this sort of point in time, there was the original 3-tower proposal. But really, there has not been a formal new proposal that has actually been brought to the commission.
They're doing the due diligence, economic feasibility studies.
Of course they are.
I think that, yeah.
Of course they are. And but you see, what sometimes happens is there is all this talk about, well, are they now talking about 1 tower and what happens to the pedestal, and now is there going to be one on the north end and another one on the south end? Well, the reality is Fane has not really come back and made a formal second proposal.
Okay.
So at this point, there's a lot of talk, but until Jason Fane comes back and says, we're here and this is what we are proposing, that's when we will all
Then
go
maybe
together.
we'll see you back here on Go Local Live when
There
there's
you
another
go.
proposal. But one of your main concerns with the Fane proposal you had spoken with us about was that pedestal.
Absolutely.
Have you've raised the concerns. I mean, do you think there's a potential that could come back with a a changed proposal, or is it just pedestal or no go? Because they need it for the parking, correct?
They absolutely need for the parking. And when you're doing that sort of a high-end sort of proposal development, the market for that obviously expects convenience, and so they want to roll into the elevator and roll down and get into their cars, and so that is to be expected, and they will pay very serious money for those privileges. But the reality is we fought long and hard to stop the stadium because we didn't want a wall.
It's the wall. That's the issue that you really have. Is it walkability, accessibility, visibility, everything?
It's all of the above.
Okay.
Because people don't realize 5 stories is give or take 100 feet. That is, it's brick. It is impermeable, okay? And therefore, it is going to be all along Dyer. So you understand you need a certain amount of base in order to get the proper turning radius. The towers in and of themselves, we're talking 33, 43, 55 stories. I mean, we are talking about zoning that allows 100 feet. So we are 4 to 5 times what zoning allows. So there's one thing to ask for sort of a comfortable little variance, and there's another thing to basically blow up the zoning ordinance and say, is this really the appropriate place to do this kind of a tower in Providence when you are dwarfing everything around you?
Well, so will you continue to fight it if the proposal, if they do the feasibility study, the developer comes and says, yep, I'd like to do one tower, it looks exactly like how I presented it to you before. You go to all the meetings, do you see more Jewelry District Association folks coming out to say this is not what we want here?
I think that the sad reality is that the pedestal is the impediment. And I think that when the I-195 Commission created the resolution, which was very, very well thought out and was very sensitive to everybody's needs, I think they really sort of explained to Jason Fain that we would love for you to come back. We would love for you to think about this, go away, understand what our concerns are, perhaps think about another parcel in the development, maybe something closer to the highway, because obviously the height was supposed to build away from the river.
Yes.
I think the pedestal is going to be problematic.
So we'll see what they come back again with the Fain proposal. You know, we've talked about this a lot before. Still plenty of parcels there in the Jewelry District on the 195 land.
There are.
In your estimation, you know, what's the best use? I mean, residential, business. I mean, do we have enough residential at this point? I mean, you're in there every single day, so you see it.
Well, I think that the reality is that if you look at what's coming online in the next year, we're going to have about 1,000 units between downtown and the Jewelry District.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of units, and we still have to remember that there's something called demand and supply and absorption.
Now we have an economics lesson from Sharon Steele here.
You know, the reality is, do we really want to have think about when Water Place was vacant for as long as it was vacant? Think about the very painful process that went through from rental to auction to finally it was sold. We don't want that to happen again. And the reality is, remember, there is a mandate for the I-195 corridor that is supposed to create jobs. It's about economic development. It is not about residential development. So when a developer comes and says, gee, I'd like $50 million, well, you know what? That really is not what this is about.
Okay.
It's about Wexford and CIC and Johnson & Johnson and GE Digital and Virgin Pulse. That's what it's about.
So it's about jobs on the 195 land. That's something that you are there, you know, every meeting about, and we often talk with you about the Jewelry District's perspective.
Exactly.
Again, from Sharon Steele. But another place we often find you is the Providence Board of Licenses. And lots of shakeups recently. I mean, we did see the Pine report that made a number of recommendations, and you are there daily, whenever they have meetings there. And you know, a lot happened just this past week with the Vault, which is a club that's been in the news. How have you seen the implementation of? And now the mayor is doing his own audit of the board as well. Is it just were we just waiting and waiting for these changes that have been proposed to be implemented? And will they ever? And what's important? What needs to be done for folks who might not be familiar with the Pine report?
I think that we are all frustrated at the moment because Jeff Pine's report was clearly an absolute blueprint of what needed to be done. And here we are, 6, God knows how many months past that, and have there been any changes? Frankly, no. I mean, if you look at the way the meetings are handled on a day-to-day basis, we need major changes. We will have a change in terms of the administrator, but we need to sort of literally start all over again with the process. And I think in terms of the decisions, the vault decision will actually come down tomorrow.
Okay.
The Prada decision for remonstrance was today, another Federal Hill Club. So again, the attorneys know that if they don't like the outcome at the Board of Licenses, they go to DBR and have an appeal hearing, and then we sort of start all over again.
Now, issues of violence, there had been the shooting just outside of the vault that we had covered closely. The current issue with the vault up on Federal Hill, and this is the building owned by Congressman David Cicilline's brother. He used to be a part owner in it as well. The overcrowding issue,
right?
This is a state. It was on February 20th, which is the anniversary of the station. This is the anniversary of the station fire.
Right.
Do you think that there is a sense at the board level that you think that action will be taken again because of this dangerous overcrowding, which Rhode Islanders only know too well?
Well, the assistant city solicitor made a recommendation at the last hearing for a revocation. And again, clearly, we anticipate that there will probably be an appeal. This was an overcrowding issue. This is a fight with 2 women and gash over, the eyebrow, and having 170 odd people in a place that is supposed to have 105, and having the door locked from the inside so that those people couldn't get out. So these are serious issues. And like anything
they're
else,
not the first issues either.
Nor are they the first issues. And you know what, Kate? It's sort of the same story regardless of where it's playing. It's a small group of clubs who, let's just say, try to operate outside of the rules of the game. And
you're always there to keep tabs.
Try.
Yes, no, you're at most of the meetings that were there. So we're going to keep tabs tomorrow.
Tomorrow is the decision on the vault.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Well, if folks haven't read about it, you can go on Go Local. We've written numerous times about instances that have occurred. Again, this is the club on Federal Hill, owned by Congressman David Cicilline's brother, that Sharon Steele and folks have been going to the Board of Licenses meetings to keep tabs on. So we'll keep tabs, and we'll talk with you about that tomorrow.
We will.
And I'm sure we'll talk about more 195 stuff soon when we hear the next things down the pipeline. There's just a big focus. I mean, folks are just...
But it's all good news. It's all good things happening. New restaurants, one called The District, in the Jewelry District.
The District is wildly popular. It was one of our 17 to watch in 17. We knew it was going to be popular.
And they are knocking it out of the park.
So District, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out over there. And we'll touch base with Sharon Steele at some point soon.
Thank you, Kate.
Appreciate your coming in today into our beautiful studio here downtown.
We love it.
Thank you, Sharon. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Everyone, that was Sharon Steele, community activist, very involved with the Jewelry District Association.